So I just wanted to welcome everyone here today. Thank you so much for joining us for our Dine and Develop series. So for some of you that haven't had the pleasure of joining us for these events, these are going to be happening bi-monthly now. So you should be expecting some emails on future presentations from your QuadBridge sales reps. My name is Denny. I'm one of the sales managers here at QuadBridge. I've been with QuadBridge a little bit over 4 years. I know quite a few of you inside this. Inside the Dine and Develop. So I'm happy to see some familiar names, some familiar faces, and I'm hoping that it's as enjoyable for you guys as it is for me. For those of you that don't know about QuadBridge, we're an IT VAR. We're based out of Montreal. We do hardware, software, and IT solutions on both sides of the border. So if your company is operating in Canada or the US, we can help you with both of those things. So as far as this goes, our partner today is Pulse Secure, and they will be presenting a working from home, the new normal. I had a look at this yesterday. It looks awesome. I'm super excited to hear the whole presentation. Afterwards, if you have any follow-up, if you're interested in Pulse Secure, what you learned today, their products, etc., it would be our pleasure to help you out. So just reach out to your account manager, and I'm sure your account managers will follow up with you as well. And so I'll hand it over to Brian Embry from Pulse Secure, who will start it off for us. Thank you, Brian.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Brian Embry, and I'm with Pulse Secure's portfolio management team. Today, I'm going to be talking sort of about Pulse Secure's secure access solutions, and basically how the pandemic has affected all of our sort of working habits, especially now that pretty much everybody's working from home. With that, let's jump in.
Oh, sorry, Brian. I just wanted to mention one last thing. So in terms of questions, since we're 60 people in the call, if you have any questions, there's a questions tab in the chat. So if you want to go ahead and type your questions into there, and then I'll moderate for Brian, so we don't have a lot of people talking at the same time. So if there's any questions, we'll be able to handle them all. Just write them in the questions tab, and it'll be my pleasure to tell Brian.
Sounds like a plan. Okay, so our agenda. We're going to cover a brief overview of Pulse Secure, kind of quickly go over some of the recent events in the new normal, as everybody's kind of already far too familiar with. But then we'll get into the details of how Pulse Secure can really help with securing remote workforces. We'll cover a little bit about the competition, and I'll also give a little teaser on what's coming, and then we'll do the Q&A as Denny indicated. So Pulse Secure's mission really is to deliver secure access solution. We've been doing that for a lot of years, and we've got over 200 patents, more than 700 employees, and more than 20,000 customers. 80% of the Fortune 500 deploys our solutions. We're securing over 18 million endpoints worldwide. And we're used by organizations from as few as 300 employees to well over 50,000. And all of them trust our products and services to secure their increasingly remote and mobile workforces. And as you're well aware, that's pretty much everybody now. So our portfolio consists of a variety of products, all designed to provide secure remote access. Today, we're going to be focusing on Pulse Connect Secure, and that offers secure VPN and cloud connectivity. But as I mentioned, later we'll be discussing how to optimize things and how Pulse can help in light of the current situation. So, not telling anybody anything they don't already know, basically the biggest statistic off of this slide is that VPN usage grew a whole ton between March 8th and March 22nd. And one of the articles in here, the Wayne Rash article, he indicated that one of the big things is going to be just adding all of those VPN licenses and doing so very quickly. With that, what has changed in the last sort of couple of months? Not a whole lot. Basically, working from home isn't going away. In fact, there have been a number of articles indicating that this may be not sort of when we're all done with this in 5 years, everybody's going to be working from home, but working from home itself isn't going away, and it's likely to be a significant trend for a very long time. So given that customers are struggling with getting all of these workers online, those customers are having to quickly enable secure access for additional workers, and they've got to make sure that they integrate all of that access with their existing stuff. They've got hundreds, maybe thousands of existing security policies, and they have to integrate all of those new requests with existing ones. At the same time, they need to deploy new access infrastructure to handle the load, and they have to continue to meet compliance requirements and mandates. Troubleshooting all of this is going to be even more of a nightmare than it typically has been, most likely because of the constraints and inability to meet face-to-face and point at laptops and things like that. And then once you have it all working correctly, administrators have to make sure that they can use it with all of their other infrastructure and management tools to run the whole thing securely. It's not an easy task in normal circumstances, and it's going to be sort of a lot harder now going forward. So with that as a bit of a backdrop, let's look at how Pulse can help. So to start off, our Pulse Connect Secure and Cloud Secure solutions offer a number of features and benefits to help out. First, we make sure that users can seamlessly access data center and cloud resources from virtually any device and from any location. And with those work from home mandates, that location is going to be home. We enable that access with a single client that spans multiple operating systems. It's really simple to download and install. You can self-provision it. Users can do it on their own and begin connecting to resources without administrative involvement. We make sure that users are fully authenticated before they join. We offer a number of mechanisms that administrators can enable to ensure full user and device authentication and integrate it with existing systems. I'll cover a little bit later how we perform something called stateful device security checks. That makes sure that the devices are checked for specific kinds of software, the presence of anti-malware software, anti-spyware software, personal firewall software, before they connect to the network. That reduces the possibility of malware affecting things. We offer things like single sign-on capabilities that streamline access. And then we'll discuss a little bit about Pulse's ICE licensing, or in case of emergency licensing, which allows organizations to handle unforeseen increases in users by maximizing the capability of the devices or letting it burst to handle more users. So to start everything off, Pulse Connect Secure is supported on a variety of platforms and cloud providers. About 85% of businesses are hybrid IT, meaning that they have resources in the cloud and data center, and the ability to span deployments across those data centers and clouds in all form factors is really critical. On the cloud side, we support AWS, Google, Alibaba, and Azure. Organizations using one or more of these providers can quickly deploy Pulse Secure and protect resources just as easily as on-premise. And market analysis indicates that most organizations use 2 or more cloud providers. On the appliance side, we're offering a complete line of hardware appliances that scale from 300 users to up to more than 20,000, as well as supporting the most popular virtual platforms like KVM, VMware, and Hyper-V. This flexibility means that virtually any enterprise can quickly deploy and run our secure access software and hardware in their network. And we've got integration capabilities like a comprehensive API that makes it straightforward to mesh and leverage our solution with your existing management systems. One of the key advantages that we bring to the table is our single client. It offers uniform access for a variety of devices, and it spans multiple operating systems. Users can download it, as I mentioned, with a browser on their device of choice. We're supporting Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, and Linux, and get it running themselves, that self-provisioning that I mentioned earlier. The single client enables access to multiple applications simultaneously. You don't need multiple instances of the client on a single device. It works for all of our Pulse Secure solutions, including our network access control and the software-defined perimeter product I'll talk about at the very end. That same client streamlines the whole user experience. It's simple enough for users to download and install, and that reduces help desk calls and overall administrative involvement. Moreover, the client is also sort of a key part of the integrated security checks that we do before and during a connection. That's what I mentioned, that stateful endpoint device checks. I'll talk about that in detail, but that client allows for better security compliance and reduces the possibility of malware getting into the network. Finally, if a configuration changes are needed, that central management capability that we offer using Pulse One, it propagates changes to all clients with no manual intervention needed on the part of the user. So the client is a key advantage, and it's perfect for BYOD. Self-service onboarding, that's what I talked about, which allows users with Android, iOS, Mac, and Windows devices to securely access those applications and resources from any devices. Things like Wi-Fi, VPN, and certificate profiles can be defined for enterprise resources and downloaded to a device during onboarding. This allows for automated provisioning of the device. Guidance is provided throughout the process so that help desk calls aren't necessary. And another option is that users can be redirected to Pulse Workspace, which is our mobile device management system, or another system like Intune, MobileIron, or AirWatch to be onboarded that way. But that being said, with Pulse Secure, you also don't necessarily need a client either. We offer clientless access, where users can access common web applications like Outlook, SharePoint, and others using that browser alone. Users are still subject to the same authentication requirements, and I'll talk about that in a sec, but in many cases, they don't necessarily need the client. At the same time, we support a variety of virtual desktop infrastructure and remote desktop capabilities. Lots of customers have legacy systems that require special care and feeding, and we enable users to securely access those remotely. These capabilities can also be combined with our single sign-on features to streamline and secure access, and that increases security throughout the enforcement of security policies. Another key advantage is making sure that all users who access applications and resources are verified and validated. One way we do that is through dynamic multi-factor authentication and using behavior analytics. This is a mechanism where we check for access behavior based on things like the type of device being used and the location it's being used from. And if any of this seems out of the ordinary, because we're tracking all of that, then we subject the user to further authentication checks. This is useful in case the device becomes lost or stolen and someone tries to log in from a location that's uncharacteristic. I'll talk a little bit more about location awareness in a couple of slides. That said, we've got a broad array of standards-based mechanisms too. This really is only a partial list, but by using things like SAML 2.0, PKI, and temporary one-time passwords, we're offering mechanisms that are used by virtually every business and recognized pretty much state-of-the-art. And in our most recent release, we now support Windows Hello for Business. That's Microsoft's new multi-factor authentication biometric system, which uses a combination of usernames, passwords, and a PIN or even a gesture to authenticate. In this case, a gesture will be more unique to someone and easier to remember than a PIN, but it pretty much still ensures that only users and their designated devices get access to appropriate resources. So that stateful endpoint security compliance checks I mentioned, this is where we check a device before, during, and throughout each connection. We check every endpoint for the presence of antivirus, anti-spyware, and personal firewall software. Then we make sure it's got the right patch levels, the correct operating system version, and maybe even the right browser type, along with a bunch of other parameters. Some of the parameters are predefined and others enable administrators to do them on their own. All of these parameters look for things like the presence of third-party software or something like that, and we maintain the state of that security of the device throughout the connection, and we'll keep track of all that information over time, and then flag it if it ever shows a change that we don't agree with or the policies are somehow out of whack by the administrator. If a device doesn't check out, administrators can quarantine a device for manual or possibly even automatic remediation later, or an exception can be made to grant access or even deny it outright until the device passes the check. And by doing all of these checks every time a device connects to a network, we're really enabling organizations to raise their security profile, reduce the chance of malware that penetrates a network, and improving compliance. So A location awareness is another sort of next generation feature that we offer. With this one, administrators can define whether or not a VPN is required based on where you are. For example, today with mandated work from home requirements, administrators can specify that users working from home must use a VPN when accessing corporate resources. Eventually, with restrictions when they're lifted, similar rules can be applied for things like cafes or airports or hotels or train stations. And Pulse Connect Secure can also detect when you're accessing a network from the office. In this case, it'll turn off the VPN so that you're accessing applications and resources as efficiently as possible. Sometimes bringing up a tunnel really depends more on the application rather than on your location. Using certificate-based authentication, connectivity is as simple as launching an app that you need. The traffic for that app goes through the tunnel, but other apps send the traffic in the clear. As part of our per app VPN, we can enable domain-based tunneling. So for example, if you're browsing an internal web app, the browser knows to send that traffic through the tunnel and keeps other non-corporate traffic outside. And per app is sort of tuned for mobile performance. So if you're on a Wi-Fi connection, you don't use cellular data or backhaul the traffic if you don't need to. Another feature we've got is always on. Some industries like financials and healthcare require connections that are always on for compliance or regulatory reasons. And for those kinds of businesses, we offer that always on connection. That's where the user's device automatically makes a connection to Pulse Connect Secure using the gateway as soon as the user logs into their device. Once that connection is established, all traffic from that device is sent via a protected tunnel. It's still possible to traverse a captive portal like in a hotel, for example, so that you can then establish a connection to a corporate resource. We've got a further feature called lockdown mode, which users are basically unable to disconnect from the tunnel, and that ensures that all data in motion remains secure. It can be configured to be aware of the user's location. If a user is connected remotely and then comes into the office, lockdown mode can automatically detect it, and that feature can be lifted. When the user goes back to a remote location, such as their home in today's COVID world, the feature will be reestablished and all the data again will go through that protected tunnel. Pulse Cloud Secure is our cloud access product. And when this is deployed, users really only enter their credentials for a specific application once that, which can then significantly reduce credential theft, especially in a world where of unknown or insecure Wi-Fi hotspots. Cloud Secure leverages the same endpoint security checks that I also mentioned earlier, that stateful check where we look for the presence of all the kinds of software on each endpoint. It protects data in motion by enabling on-demand and location-based VPN tunnels to be automatically set up. Users don't have to manually set up a protected tunnel, and administrators don't need to worry whether those users are insecurely accessing applications. And finally, it integrates with all third-party identity providers like Ping, Okta, and Microsoft Active Directory, and it can work with Pulse Connect Secure's own identity services capabilities. Pulse's in case of emergency license or ICE license. This enables a company to maintain productivity, things like sustaining partnerships and delivering services to customers, even when a disaster strikes. It was initially designed to accommodate winter storms or other unforeseen events, but has been used extensively during the time of the coronavirus. It basically allows the maximum capacity of the appliance, physical or virtual, to be used for a temporary period. And this is especially critical when work from home mandates mean that everybody's, again, working from home. Because of the clientless capabilities of PCS, users don't necessarily need to use the client. They can use the clientless option from a home computer or desktop or even a personal tablet. Using those clientless aspects will still validate that device to make sure it passes all of those security checks. But companies can still keep in business, maintain productivity using the ICE license. Finally, one of the last things organizations really need now is a difficult to integrate solution. As we discussed, trying to deploy additional secure access capabilities in today's environment is a big, tall order. Solutions that don't work well with existing systems are going to be difficult at best to get going, and the return on investment isn't going to be as high. Pulse has worked really diligently to ensure that we offer an open, standards-based platform with a comprehensive set of APIs, and organizations can integrate it into their infrastructure easily. We provide better visibility, management, analysis, and compliance so that right now, especially businesses can focus on what's important, keeping everybody safe, secure, and productive. To that end, we put together something called the Pulse Cares program. We're now offering an expedited way of getting licensing out on a virtual system to businesses so they can respond quickly. Both customers and non-customers can get pre-configured virtual appliances and the appropriate number of licenses to enable secure access for their workforces. If you go to that URL, pulsesecure.net, more information is there. You fill out a form and we'll get back to you within 24 hours. So with that, how do we compare against the competition? Well, there are kind of two broad swaths of the competition. We've got next-gen firewalls, and this is a table that shows some of our core capabilities against those kinds of firewalls. Many firewalls offer VPN services on top of that functionality, but by trying to do too many things at once, firewalls often have a hard time performing at scale, sometimes only supporting up to 2,000 users with their most powerful systems. They don't offer endpoint compliance checks, clientless access, or the remote and virtual desktop features that we offer. We pretty much focus on one thing, which is enabling secure access for remote and mobile workforces. And that's really not the focus of firewall vendors. Traditional VPN vendors, on the other hand, well, most of them don't offer the breadth of features that we offer, such as those endpoint compliance checks, or advanced features like the integration with Microsoft Hello for Business. We also do things like the always-on VPN with lockdown mode. So we're focused really on secure access for people, things, devices, and services. And we're really concerned that with enabling that in today's environment, businesses really need their workforces to access those applications and stay productive. So I mentioned sort of what's coming. Today, we've announced that Pulse Access Suite, into addition to our portfolio, it adds significant value to each level that we've had. Each one is designed for integrated and scalable secure access. And because of that level of integration, each one of those levels, the Essentials Plus, Advanced Plus, and Enterprise Plus, can be deployed quickly. It's designed for a simple procurement, and it leverages all of the ease of use features that we've integrated throughout our portfolio. Coming soon, we'll be releasing a new software-defined perimeter SaaS solution. It's the industry's first hyper-converged access solution, leveraging that single client I mentioned, enabling secure access to any application in the cloud and data center. And it's got a multi-tenancy platform that integrates application ecosystems and various other things. Because it's a software-defined perimeter solution, it really offers a significantly reduced attack surface because it's allowing users to access applications only. It's not allowing network access. So things like advanced persistent threats, some types of DDoS attacks, and other kinds of threat actors are significantly mitigated or eliminated. It's in beta now, and we're looking forward to getting it into the hands of more customers to trust access to them.
Hey, Brian.
So,
oh, sorry, Brian, we got a question here.
Yeah.
I think you might have just answered it actually after it was typed, but I'll go away. So this one's from Francois. Are Pulse Secure high availability configurations available on AWS or GCP, Google Cloud?
I may have to punt that to somebody more technical. That sounds like something because it's Pulse Connect Secure is available in high availability mode in clouds. The exact configuration, you'd have to ask one of our technical marketing people, but I can certainly take that question, and I'll send Denny a full answer, and Denny, you could forward that on. Yeah. That would be great. But I'm awfully sure that that we've got the capabilities to do that, but I'll make sure that we get you a complete answer.
Perfect. Thank you. Amazing. Oh, we got an answer from Jim, who says it's available in both cloud formats.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I guess we'll open the floor up to any other questions, unless you had anything else, Brian.
That's what I've got. I can talk a little bit more about things like we've got a new feature called conditional access, which uses sort of policies, and it looks at the behavior of users over time to access the network. We've got a lot of very cool features and things like that that we've got. I can talk a little bit more about that, but yeah, that's kind of the basics of what I've got. I hope that was helpful and within the time constraints.
Yeah, I think we got a couple questions coming in right now. What are the best practices for running a multi-site VPN endpoints with Pulse Secure? Are you able to provide some of the best practices, Brian?
That's kind of a bigger question. What I'll do, we have a couple of resources that I can ask our technical marketing team to send me, and in terms of the documentation, I can respond give that to you, Denny, and you can send that on. But that's probably a bigger topic that I'm not necessarily qualified to answer.
Okay. So we got two points to come back to for Francois. So Francois, expect to see an answer from me on those two questions you have. Unless anybody else has some questions, I have a couple. I could go ahead then.
Go for it.
Able to tell us more about the integration with Windows Hello for Business?
Sure. So Windows, as you might know, Windows Hello for Business is this feature that enables people to use gestures and various other things to access their network. And we integrate that with Pulse Connect Secure. So instead of using things like a password, you hold the device in front of you, use a gesture, and then authenticate into Pulse Connect Secure to access the applications. It's a way of making sure that multi-factor authentication is included. It's not just username and passwords, but it's a number of other features that ensure that the right person is accessing the application at the right time.
Perfect. And have another question regarding to the ICE in case of emergency licenses. Are you able to explain a little bit more how that works in terms of capacity, bursting, and stuff like that?
Sure. Yeah. So ICE licenses are a way of enabling. It's a toggleable feature, meaning that it's designed for 8 weeks, but you can toggle it on and off. So for example, it's again initially designed for things like winter storms, but so if you've got a storm that comes up, you turn it on, it allows the maximum capacity of the box to be used. So pretty much everybody who normally worked from an office, then all of a sudden works from home. And then when the winter storm is over with, you turn it off. You've got 7 more weeks of capacity left. So if another storm hits, you turn it back on. Everybody works from home. That lasts for a week. You turn it off, then you've got 6 weeks left. So it's a toggleable feature, but it maximizes the capacity of the box. There's also a feature that allows the box to burst for specific periods of time, but it's a very flexible way of enabling users to work from home quickly and easily.
Thank you for that. Anybody else? I have one from Roland. Okay, so there's a message from Roland here in case you guys haven't seen. So for detailed technical questions, we can organize a meeting to cover that. So Roland Pinta is the sales engineer based in Montreal for Pulse Secure. So for those of you asking the little bit more technical cloud-related questions, Roland would be. So reach out to your account rep at Quadbridge, and we can set something up to deep dive into those more technical questions with Roland. Thank you, Roland, for that. I got one more question here from Luc Paulin. There's a new buzzword in the VPN techno, mesh VPN. Does Pulse Secure support or have any plan to support that type of connectivity? Mesh VPN or VPN, yeah, mesh VPN. Would you know, Brian, if that's on the roadmap?
Honestly, I do not know if that's on the roadmap. I will get back to everybody. And Denny, I'll reach out immediately to determine whether that's on the roadmap, and so you can send that out later today.
Okay. Well, Roland just replied. He says, "Are we talking about SD-WAN? Would that be what you're referring to, Luke? SD-WAN?" Some stuff like Tailscale or Zero Tier. Okay, so it's not the same thing. Give me a second. Okay, I think we're getting Roland on stage. Roland, are you able to field these questions on stage? I guess we could wait till Roland gets live. I have another question from Alexander Irigoyen, and he wants to know how this is licensed. Can you provide a high-level budgetary numbers?
I'm sorry, my internet was a little flaky.
So I have a question from Alexander Irigoyen, and he wants to know how this is licensed, how the products are licensed, and can we provide some high-level budgetary numbers?
I could talk certainly about the licensing in terms of how it's used. We've got two ways of doing so, but others like Jim and Roland can talk more about the budgetary stuff. We've got ways of doing named users and concurrent users. Concurrent users is a way of basically enabling a number of users to access the device simultaneously. On a named user basis, we've got everybody's assigned a specific sort of stream, and they access the device on a single one-by-one basis. Jim certainly can help with budgetary numbers, and that probably would be a follow-on call, and it's based on things like the size of the appliance, the number of users that you anticipate, that sort of thing.
Answer that question in terms of budgetary pricing. The best person to ask is your QuadBridge sales rep. They'll be able to get you those numbers for you. Do we have any more? I think that's it for now, unless Roland is available to field those questions. Oh, and furthermore, Jim Hebler writes, appliance size plus license count plus support plus term. And then you have 3 years or versus 1 year options.
Yeah, that's a very succinct way of answering the question as I did. Thanks, Jim.
And presents when you try to give me the rights. All right, I just sent him an invitation. Let's see if that works. And okay, another question from Ty. Is the management interface for the appliance cloud-based, and what kind of statistics does it offer?
The management information can be either cloud-based or on-premise. It offers a number of statistics. One of the things, probably the best thing to do is to go to our website, look up Pulse One. But we track the users, what applications they're accessing, when they access them, that kind of thing. That's also the application that defines policies to enable people to access specific applications. But a lot of more information on Pulse One is available on our website. But we've got dashboards that provide information about, again, what applications are being accessed, when they're being accessed, who's accessing them, what kind of devices. In fact, Denny, I could provide you some screenshots and things like that that you could potentially forward on, but there's a lot of stuff there.
Oh, we finally managed to get Roland on. Oh, no, that's Jim. Oh, all right. Hey, Jim. How's it going? You're on mute there, Jim. Here, let me help you out. Oh, no, you're on mute. Still muted. Jim, we're not able to hear you, buddy. I see that your mic's still muted. Not muted here, sorry. Oh.
Yeah, I've tried to unmute his microphone remotely and I can't either.
Yeah, I just asked Mary-Ev. She's also trying. Just for full disclosure, this is the first time we use this platform, so thank you guys for patiently bearing with us as we work to figure out the proper way to do things on this. But it looks like it's a good platform. Just having a little bit of difficulty here. So Ty, it's wants to know, is this a per user licensing or per appliance? Do you care to answer that, Brian?
Licensing, it's generally on a session based or a user base. It's not based on specific appliances. However, the appliance has certain limits based on the capacity of the appliance. As Jim indicated, it's basically the appliance size plus the sort of number of users are anticipated to use that appliance. We've got a full line of appliances from small to huge. And again, it depends on the number of users you anticipate.
Perfect.
Yeah, Jim's talking in the chat. Jim says the PSA 3000 is designed for 1500. And then we've got he's already anticipated the question.
Thank you, Jim. All right, so I'm not looks like we don't have any. Do we have any more questions? So we're pretty up to date. Petra says for Jim to change your input device.
Yeah, I'm trying to invite Roland back on stage. See if that works. And as Denny said, I appreciate everybody's patience as well. It's the first time I've used this platform.
I mean, in any case, yeah, I think that's probably what Jim is saying right now makes the most sense right now. So, I mean, we did reach our time pretty much. So, unless anyone has any more questions that they want to have answered right now, we can take a couple more questions. Otherwise, the best course of action right now, reach out with your QuadBridge rep, and it will be our pleasure to get you in touch with Roland or Jim and the Pulse Secure team, and we can do a little bit more deep dive in terms of the technical requirements, and then all your questions surrounding pricing, licensing, and how that works. Jim, you said you have the answer to the first two questions. That was from Francois. High availability configurations on AWS. Is that correct? All right, so he has the answers for the first two. High availability on AWS, yes, and we are to go through standard. Amazing. Awesome. So that's a yes, Francois. So I'll make sure to get in touch with Francois and put you guys in communication together. Is there any other questions from anybody? So if that's the case, thank you, Kristen. Yeah, please reach out to us. Request a meeting. I'd like to thank you all for attending the webinar on the part of Quadbridge and from the Pulse Secure team. And I hope it was informative as much as it was for me, and you enjoyed your lunches. And I can't wait to potentially see everybody on the next one, and also follow up with you and the Pulse Secure team in regards to any deployments that you're interested in doing. Do you want to add anything, Brian?
No, thanks, Denny, for moderating. You are a steely-eyed missile man, and I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you very much. Excellent. Thanks, everybody. I'll wish you all a good day then.
Thanks again.